Joining us now is the Honourable Dr. Jean Augustine, the woman who championed Black History Month in Canada and the first Black female MP in Canadian history. Welcome to the Forum Daily, ma'am.
Well, thank you so much for having me on. And I am really impressed by the fact that you bring to your audience the statistics that you just showed.
Ma'am, I really appreciate your time on the show today. And I really want to go back to 1995. That's when you single-handedly championed the vote to make February Black History Month. So can you tell us your story and how this historic month came to be?
Well, it was the fact that as African Canadians, just as I can say the same thing about our Indigenous Inuit Métis people, there was very little in education, curricula, and the programs that I was teaching as an elementary school principal, the social studies program, did not include any of the information. It was one of these things that when I had the opportunity to ensure that Canada recognized the presence of African Canadians dating back to the 1600s and the contributions that African Canadians have been making, I felt it was essential to have officially designated February as Black History Month in Canada, because it was a designated month in the United States since 1926. We had been copying in Toronto what was taking place in the US. And so I thought it was important for us to have officially we would officially designate February as Black History Month in Canada.
Now, when we think of Black history and the difficulties faced by this demographic, we tend to go back to U.S. history and slavery in the United States in particular. But what about Canada's role in the past in terms of the oppression of Black people? Why is it also important to remember that as well, ma'am?
Well, I think when I talk about Black History Month, I talk about Black History Month, Black history in Canada. That history, which is a history of all Canadians, not just for Black people, but it's Canada's history and the recognition of that history. And so when we go back in Canada's history to 1603, the coming of Matthew the Coster, the relationship with the Mi'kmaq people, the settlement, the early settlements, what was occurring in Canada at the time, the issue of the fact that we did have slavery, the buying and selling of people in Canada, that the United Empire loyalists brought with them enslaved people, and the fact that we've been making contributions to this nation, that we've been participants in Canadian society, that that recognition is not there. And so the asking for the designation of Black history in Canada, bringing to the fore who African Canadians are, the many generations of African Canadians, the newcomers of African Canadians to Canadian society, the contributions that we're all making. And we need to know each other's history. Because if we are multicultural, multiracial, multi-ethnic, multi-religious society, we need to know about each other. We need to know the history of the presence of African Canadians in Canada. So this month is not a month to talk about Americans or to go back to that history, but it is to look at our history in Canada.
Now, it's clear that looking back at these statistics that there's a lot of work that needs to be done. But where can we start, ma'am? We've got about 30 seconds left for this segment.
We have to start with that knowledge of who we are in the society, the statistics that you just put forward, the fact that we need to be included. If we are to be a diverse society, then we need to be included in every aspect of Canadian society. And so some of the work that's happening right now, it's important for us to build on this, to ensure that our children and our grandchildren and the entire society know about the African presence and recognize the African Canadian presence.
All right.
It is important also that we see the gaps in the society around the issue of race and color and status.
Again, thank you so much for your time today on our show on the Forum Daily, Dr. Augustine.